Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. I guess some of you or many of you are watching the World Cup, which makes sense. I have it on the background. I cannot stream it obviously because it's proprietary content of televisions and such, but I have, let's say, the audio on the background. So if something very, very special happens, I guess they will all scream, and so I will listen to what they are doing. And I can see it on the I can see it on my right screen, on my right monitor. I understand that it's Croatia versus England, and they are 1-1 at the moment. And England scored at the beginning of the match, nearly at the early beginning, and then there's been not a very good game overall. I've seen a lot of I mean, people wasting a bit of time, not really good action, even if I'm not an expert of soccer at all. But and then now, just a few minutes ago, we had one goal of Croatia, and so now they are fighting back because it's 1-1, and 1-1 is obviously risky for both of them. Well, I would say mainly for England, which I would say is probably the favorite here. I think everyone would like to see a final with France versus England, which is I think would be a good final. But anyway, I don't like soccer too much, so I don't at the end I don't care at all. But it's just to get into the spirit, of the event, which is anyway a very important event. And yeah. Okay, so what I want to do tonight. Yesterday we were very, very close to our objective. Very close, but unfortunately we didn't reach it because I had to go. We will try to do it today. Just to recap, we are trying to have a proper spell casted by our player, our player towards an NPC. Is a spell that does damage. It's called Summon Missile, and this thing is made of different steps. Actually, there are a lot of steps in the casting of a spell, believe it or not, but there is really a lot. It's not just the client casting the spell and that's it, and the server doing the damage. It's much more complex than that. And in particular, let's say these are all the steps. So it starts from the client, which clicks on cast a spell, which sends a message to the server with a request to cast a spell, and the server does a lot of validation. Validation being let's say the player having the rights to cast it, having the right glyphs, having the right mana, having the right stamina, whatever. So doing all the possible checks, and then the server says yes, okay, you can start casting. And so it sends to the client what we call set mode spell casting, which means the client is going into another state, which is spell casting. So we can have multiple states, like we can have in combat, we can have dead, obviously, we can have sitting on the ground, we can have crafting, and we can also have spell casting. And based on the mode in which you are, let's say you can do different things. Your player can do different things. Like while you are in spell casting, you basically cannot do anything else. You are just waiting the spell to go off, and yeah, you're just waiting the completion of the spell casting. So this is just trigger an animation for a certain amount of seconds, which is calculated by a script. And then after this happens, while this happens, the server is also asking to play a casting effect, which can be, I don't know, some sparklings or some sparks around the player just during the casting. And this one you see a red X because we are not gonna do it at the moment. This piece we are not gonna do it. Then the timer finally triggers when the time is finished, like let's say 3 or 4 seconds of casting, and we execute a spell script. So during the execution of the spell script, we may decide to do a number of things. So for example, in this case, we decide to play the visual effect of the spell, of the final spell, right? And then at the end, it restores what we call the mode piece. Piece is just the idle, let's say, animation, so the character is able then to walk again and or run or do anything else. And so on this side, we are restoring the idle animation. So all the ones that have a green mark like this means that we have already in the game and are working properly. The only one that we are missing, or the important ones, is the launch of the GFX effect, which is the one that we want to implement now, or anyway we want to enable now. I see a few people join the stream. Hello Zwei, hello Vaz, and hello Maui. Hi guys. They are screaming a lot. What is happening? Nearly a goal, I guess. I'm keeping the audio on the background a bit, so I hear when they are screaming. Okay, so but we identified exactly the point where this is happening. Exactly the point, and the point is inside our FX operation. So our scripting language, which by the way is kind of something we made up. We created a scripting language for our spells and our quest and everything. So is having one operation which is called FX. They just missed another goal, by the way. And this one is the one that is actually doing the job of sending to the client the effect. The problem is that, you see, we have an old message, PS effect message, and we still have some old classes like gem object, which were present in the old Planeshift code, but now we are not anymore valid. So we just have to understand what is coming out of this. I think the best, so here is trying to cast this to gem object, because the target can be anything, can be an object, can be a player. So actually this one for us becomes an A actor, right? Which is okay. Then I'm not 100% sure why we do this, but it's fine. I mean, we did it because in the past probably here we had something like target, get something, you know, but now for us it's all the same object. So this line is completely unnecessary, but we leave it just for a second. Then is checking, okay, if this variable is empty, is evaluating the effect, and then here the only problem, boys, is that why the source, I think this is a wrong, wait a second, this is a wrong porting. I ported it without a piece. This thing is missing a piece. This thing I think is missing a piece. It's impossible that it's like this, because source and target have to be different, obviously. They have to be different. No? Really? Why we do this line? I don't understand. Why we have this line? Ah, because by default, okay. So this line is not very understandable, but this line is that we consider the source equal to target in case source is not specified. Right? So that is the thing. So we assign it as the same as the target, but then here, you see here, if we find the source, then that is perfectly fine, right? So we assign it properly. So it's only in the case in which this is empty. Maybe I will copy this one also here. because I think it's a good comment anyway. Now the problem here is that it's returning a gem object. So this get object is returning a gem object, and it's not a good idea. We need to convert it. Now I think if we change it, a lot of the code will break. But I think we have to do it now. There is no other way. We have to do it now. So let's convert it to a actor, and all of this becomes a actor as well. I think it's okay. I think this removal of temporary, I think this one is okay. The only problem we have is that, okay, a lot of scripting will break now, but it's fine. Let me just change scripting.h, and let's try to have yes, let's search for gem object. Why we don't have it? There should be a no. Okay. Let's see what else broke, because something for sure is broken now, I think, because we changed the return parameter of this function, which is used in many places. So let's wait a second in IntelliSense to see if it's working okay. Yeah, I definitely need a third monitor, by the way. Or I can make this a bit smaller. Okay. And if I do this, it's probably fine. Oops. Yes, like this is perfect. I found a perfect setup. Okay. Yes, you see some of the functions now are breaking up, but this one now is fine. We have few functions up here, so let's go one by one. I think we need to fix them all. Anchor is null, so everything that is gem object becomes a actor. I don't want to do a big substitution in the whole file because we don't know, let's say, if this will really work, so I do it a bit, you know, carefully. All this, exactly, all this is the one we want to change. So all this effect message, now we want to change it with our new multicast, and our new multicast is actually a function on PS character, which is our broadcast. Let me go and find it again. Let me go and find it again. Is the only way is to do it like this to find it out. It's not this one, it's not this one. Okay, should be here. Yes, this one, receive effect message. This is the method that we use to send to the client an effect, multicasting it, or let's say broadcasting it to all the clients. Right? So what we need to do here, we need to do receive effect message with one. Let me search all open documents. I think we can find it out easily. Ah, it was here. Sorry, I messed up. Okay, this one. No. Okay, so this one is, now we need to call broadcast effect message. We need to call this one, which is then iterating on all the player controllers. I'm searching where we use the broadcast effect message because I think we have it already. No, we don't. I think we should, right? We should have called this already when we sent. Oh no, we decided not to do it. Okay, we decided not to do it. Now that yeah, decided not to do it. Come on, the search is still going. Okay. I don't know if you can hear the audio in the background, but there is a bit of commentary going on. But it is in Italian, so I don't know if you can really understand it. And I think it's very, very low volume, up to the point that you cannot really hear it. So we need to call on our player controller. Now the problem is how do we get a player controller? Because you know, that's a good question, because in this effect, in theory, this effect could be between two objects. But you know what? I don't really care. I think I can search the first player connected. If there is a player connected, I go through him to actually execute this, right? Even if I will have to pass in the character and the target. No, but at least the source needs to exist. I mean, the source needs to be a player, I think. Right? The source needs to be a player. Good question. The source needs to be a player or not? Because you see there are these two cases, attached and not attached. So if he's attached, he has source and target ID. If he's not attached, we get actually the position only. And so we send out an effect which only has a certain position and which is not attached to anything. What is drop distance, by the way? Distance in front of the player to drop items, just more than, okay, so it's probably dropping it in front of the player. Okay, I see. By the way, X and Z must become X and Y now. Okay. I think the first half is finished of the World Cup game. Just doing some recap of what happened, but I think it's finished and it's on 1-1 at the moment. 1-1 between Croatia and England, yes. Please, not the advertising. Now here I have to think about it, because how do we differentiate these two cases? So for sure we have to call broadcast effect mass. So we need to assume that at least one is a player. Okay, so let's do this assumption for now. I don't know if it's a good assumption, but for now let's assume that at least one is a player. So, and we take source as the potential player, which is the same one. No, actually here we are using target. Okay, so in this case we can use source, in the other one we can use target, I guess, because in the second one source is not even considered. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do a cast. Okay, so let's create a new variable which is an APS character, and this variable will be source char, and in this case we just decide to cast our actor, so our source to APS character, right? And if this is not null, so if this is valid, means that we have a character. So if we have a character, and only in this case, we decide to do source char broadcast effect message, right? And no. We do source char get controller. Yeah, I have to do the usual stuff. Get controller, and then I have to cast this to APS plane shift player control. No, how it's called? A plane shift player controller base. Okay, so we cast it to this, and now here we call our broadcast message, right? Broadcast message should be here. Yes, and in fact it's taking PS character and actor. So I think we are ready. So because source char is valid, target is already an A actor, so it's fine. And then we need the effect name. Now the effect name, I think, is this one, name, right? I think we have everything. There is also the scale. The scale, do we need the scale? I don't know if we need the scale. For now we will not use the scale. But basically this line will send through the player controller the effect that has to be played on all the other clients, and is then, let's say, properly playing it. The game restarted already? Wow, I didn't pause at all. Okay. So in this other case, instead, when it's not attached, which attached, I think it means that it started from an actual no, there is, let's say, targeting a player and should stick with the player or with the object, you know. So if it's not attached, which I think is not our case, but anyway, we just put the effect in front of the target, right? So in this case we do target get actor location, and we assign pause to this one. We do target, so yrot will be equal to target get actor rotation, and then Joe, and sector. Yeah, sector for now we stay at 0. I mean, sector at the moment we don't have a way. And then, yeah, and then it's slightly, you know, moving the object in front. Now the drop distance, we have to be careful though, because it's 55. Yeah, 55, so it's alpha meter. Okay, it's alpha meter in that position. Okay, then here is the same as above. So it is send the effect message. I think I want to keep this comment because it's a good comment. I will also expand it a bit, because send effect message to the client, which was what we are doing here. So let me just say okay. I'm trying to improve the documentation of the old code as well while I go, I mean, if I can, but I mean, it's not very relevant at this point, but if we ever, you know, if we ever fail with the Unreal Engine migration, we will use the old one, we still have it. Or if someone has to go there and check for reference, you know. So I think this is fine. Now this piece is the same as above, so we are not going to use anymore this code, but we are going to use this code. Now, do we want to check that the target exists? Well, actually here we assume that the target is valid because we are doing all this stuff. So now the problem is that our target may not be an APS character. May not be. This is very annoying. I think I should. I mean, for now it's okay, but it's a bit limiting, you know. I would place you fix me, because here we have to use target and is not sure that our target is actually a character. And by the way, in this case the source will be empty. The source will be empty, so this one will be null. Because if I take, let me see how this is executed, but I'm pretty sure that if I search an FX, type unattached, I just don't understand too much this unattached. So this means that we are going to execute this thing instead of that one, because I was pretty sure we were executing this part above, but this one says unattached. Let me check other FX. Summon missile unattached. Seems that the majority are unattached. Yes. But why? I mean, how does he know where to start? Where to start the effect and where to end it? How does he know? Considering that here is only giving the position of the target. This I really don't understand. Maybe he's assuming that the player that we send it to is no, but he's not even sending the client here. He's sending 0 as I don't understand how this not attached works. I don't understand it. So I want to find it on the client side. So not in scripting, but I want to find this piece. Admin manager show path, for example. Okay. Get client num, admin path point, get position. So I would like to understand on the client side if the source is null, or actually is 0, because we pass as a parameter 0, then what happens? By the way, it seems that we are using this PS effect nearly everywhere, but hello, Soup. Hey, man. PS client char manager. This one should be client side. Yes, this one is client side. So let me try to understand what happens when we receive this message and for some reason the anchor ID now I want to check what happens if the effect, if the source is 0, because you see it takes a gem target. Okay, and gem target I think is fine. Render the actual effect. But I never seen this part. I never seen this part when he's reading the source. So how can this work actually? Effect name, effect offset, anchor, mesh target, up, unique override, false, effect scale. Does it assume that the client character is always the source? Because I have this feeling, but if it's this way, it's very limiting for us in the future. Not now, but it's very limiting in the future. There are so many render effects. Why there are so many? There is one that takes a string, a vector, attach position, attach target, and okay, and all of that. Check if it's a single effect, find effect, current effect, attach position, get movable, get sector, but attach position. I get attach position is this thing that he calls the anchor. Anchor ID, but are we using like when we create this is all 0. We only give a name and a position, so in this case anchor ID will be empty, so the anchor will be empty, and if the anchor is empty, this render effect will have an empty anchor, which is the 1, 2, 3, the third parameter. So this attach, it is called attach position here. Actually, if this attach position is null, this is returning 0 automatically, it's doing nothing. Bit confused about that. Why? I don't understand exactly how this anchor is set up. It seems that the gem anchor has to be valid, but you see effect anchor ID. Okay, but effect anchor ID unless is the position. PS effect message. Just 1 second. Let me check if I do this, which kind of parameters do I have? Can I get the parameters of this? No? It can be 1, 2, 3 offset. Anchor ID is the 4th parameter. The third parameter here we are passing as 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We're passing a 0. Okay, maybe I should not make it perfect now, but I wanted to understand a bit better which of the two is used. I think, let me check maybe in production for a second, because I'm not fully convinced about this unattached. We have this unattached, and I'm not fully convinced of unattached. I want to see if in production we have the same unattached. Okay, I'm going for a second on another screen. Okay, spell script, so summon missile. I want to see the FX of that. You see, here is not unattached. Okay, so I think the best will probably be to, let me search unattached everywhere. Like minor earthquake is unattached. Okay, because probably it doesn't stick to, is basically targeting the ground. Okay, which makes sense to me. But summon missile is not unattached. Actually, it's the only one that is unattached. Wow. Well, at least in this page. Oh, it's the only one that is unattached. So I think we need to change database, otherwise we will get confused. So we have to change the script. Okay. So we change our script, and which is summon missile. And we remove this unattached because it's not a good idea, right? And we update the script. Does it work? Yes, it does. So because in production is like this, it's not something that happens just where the target is. It happens between the client and between the source and the target. Okay, so the problem is still we have it here anyway, because in case our source is not existing, I think I need another version of this. I need another version of this. Maybe we should not do it now, but I think I will need a broadcast effect message which has, instead of a source and a target, only as a target, and this target is expressed by position. We can do it now. I think it's not a problem. We can have broadcast effect message and attached. Can we say on ground? Maybe it's a bit easier to understand, because unattached, I mean, doesn't mean it's on ground, but okay, let's keep unattached. Okay, let's keep unattached. And we can maybe explain it here. A broadcast to all the client spell being cast at a certain location. Okay, while here a spell being cast which goes from source char to target char. Right, so that's the difference. And so this one actually, we will not have this, we will not have this. Now the problem is we also need to change our receive effect message. Yes, we also need to change this, or maybe we can add one parameter. We can leave this to empty and just add a position here. We want to have two different functions. Do we prefer to have two different functions, or we prefer to have one with one parameter more? Is the same. I think it makes no big difference. It's just the amount of code that we are writing down, but I would say, yeah, we can probably have the same here then. We can keep one function only. Now maybe this one we split, because here I will have to need, I will need an F vector position, you know, or anchor. Let's call it anchor. So I think is Okay, anchor. So broadcast is being cast. So if source and target are valid, then the effect goes from source char to target char. If source is empty, then the effect is played at anchor position, right? Yeah, let's keep one function only. I think it's okay. We can do just an if anchor is empty. I think would be pretty much okay. So this one then becomes can we put it at the end though, so we can make it a default parameter and we are not messing up? Yes, I think it's much better if we do like this, and then we just do f vector anchor equal to f vector 0 0 0. Can I do it like this? Then it's an optional parameter, so it's a bit safer for our thingy. I cannot keep my windows up in the proper way. So we do this, and should I do like this or should I do like this? I don't know. You have to initialize it to an empty vector. I think like this probably likes it. So let me change it here. So here what we have to do, we have to check if source, if char pawn or target pawn is valid, and if it's valid then we do this. If it's not valid, then effect name, and also I need to have here the same thing, anchor. Well, actually I think we may avoid caring here. We can do it in the blueprint at this point, right? Yeah, let's do it in the blueprint. I think it's easier. Let's do it in the blueprint. So also this function will have the same way. This one is on PS controller. No, this one is on the pawn, so it's on PS character. Yes, which is this one. Okay, I don't know if he likes to have optional parameters there. We will see very soon when I compile. But basically like this, he has an optional parameter, and if he doesn't like the optional parameter, we will split it into functions. But I think it's just a bit easier for us to keep it this way, so we can always call the same function, without getting crazy on putting things or not putting things. So here basically we will have null, null, name, and position, right? So in this case we know that we have to attach the effect to the position and not to any actor, which I think is fine. We are still assuming that the target is a character, which I don't have a good feeling about this line. But anyway, at the moment we will be executing this piece and not that piece, so it's okay. Let's try to compile and see. Let's try to compile. Meanwhile, the World Cup is still 1-1. I guess all of you are watching it, but it's fine. I'm watching it again as well, but on another monitor. I mean, I'm not really watching it too much, but I'm keeping an eye on it, assuming that if something important happens, they will scream, and so I will hear it. Actually, I had the audio off, so but okay. Yeah, actor has no member get position. Yes, you are right. This should be sur position and should be in sector again. We put it at 0 for now. There are still a number of errors in this file because, as I told you, I changed this get object, and now this get object is working on A actors. It doesn't like my default. How do I do a default with an F vector? I guess Croatia scored the goal. Let me watch the goal for a second. Again, I'm checking the goal they scored. Okay, the ball is going up a lot. Headshot. Is it called headshot? Oh my god, yeah, very tricky. Just between the legs of the guy, just between the legs, just whoop. Very good. Croatia. Who would know that Croatia, but this seems to be good. So it doesn't like my initialization of optional to vector. It says default parameter not parsed anchor vector. Okay. How do I need how do I make a default value of default value no, let's do this. Unreal Engine default value F vector. Is there a way to no, let's say optional parameter. How do I initialize that thing? Why it says parameter ignored, by the way? So F vector is composed of 3 components. Okay, so my constructors are like this: F vector or F vector with 3 parameters, right? These are the 2 constructors that I have. So why it doesn't like it? So it should be something like this or like this. 2-1 Croatia, yes. Mandzukic. Croatia is pretty close to Italy, by the way. There are a lot of Italian guys going to holidays in Croatia because it's close enough and it's very nice place. Seaside. Mandzukic. The England people doesn't seem to be very happy at the moment. Okay, there are still a few parameters that we have to change as expected, and there is an action location. Get action location is not a member of a actor. Well, that's true. There is specific, so FXAR applied effect, effectable source and caster and target. For applied effect, the target is always the character of the active spell. Why we do this? I don't understand what is it. Why we do get action location from the anchor? I have no idea what is this. I was just looking at something in the game that the guy seems to be injured or something. Maybe. It looks kind of injured. So I could get actual okay. So here we cannot really do this. They are trying to gain time. What are they trying to do? They're trying to gain a bit of time since they're in advantage. I don't think that's fair, by the way. Just taking like 2 minutes to get up and go out of the field. Okay. We have to change this somehow because like this it doesn't work. So this get action. Or we just comment it out for now. Should we just comment it out? Let's just comment it out. Okay. You convinced me, boys. So to be checked and converted properly. I don't know why, but let's leave it as it is. Okay, we don't care. We don't care about that particular error right now because we are not passing through that code. Here a actor is spelled wrong, and here a actor should be a actor. Okay, let's try to compile now. So do you think Croatia will win? Get client. Okay, so here we are in another part of the code which is related to traits, particular trait OP. Is the ability to change specific traits of a character. And get client none. So this one we don't need anymore. I think we can just leave. The problem is that this message, I guess, needs it is an A actor. For now, let's do get unique ID, okay? Just to have it compile, because again, this is not a part of the code that we are executing at the moment. Let's just do get unique ID, and we will have to change it anyway. The English people are complaining about something. They're complaining. Okay. So this one is okay. So it compiled. Nice. It compiled. So if it compiled, I think we can do, because we are calling the method now, right? We are calling the method for sure. So the point is, did it take my optional parameter, or he said he was ignoring it? I hope he's not ignoring it, because I need it. So we place this f vector 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 like this, and do we have the same on this other one? Let me check. Yes, we just have f vector open close. I don't know what is the difference. Why here it works like this and here it doesn't? I mean, if I do like this, it doesn't work, or it was just a stupid message, temporal stupid message, or because sometimes you compile twice, you know, and the compiler get more convinced that your code is right. Yes, she's a bit crazy, but it seems sometimes it happened this way. Action hello Tirit. Actually, action location is a very special I think it needs this. Is a very special object for us. So an action location is not a real 3D object, not a real, let's say, logical object connected to a 3D mesh that is an actor, but it's just let's say a piece of geometry to which we associate logical data. I don't know if I explained myself, but it's so basically, for example, in a geometry of a door, you know, a geometry of a house, we can select a particular door in that house. So let me do plane shift whatever. So let's assume that yes, in this guild house, right, in this guild house we select particularly, let me just view the picture. Okay, anyway, we select this shield. Okay, you see this shield at the bottom, at the back here. So we select this shield, and even if the shield is not a 3D item that is a separate actor, but it's just part of the scene, we decide that this one becomes a logical object. And being a logical object, we associate, for example, the ability to be clicked, or the ability to be observed, or the ability to be used, right? So like a lever, or maybe lever, no, but anyway, like something that you can use, you know. And so we have this concept of action locations, right? And so yes, and so when there is this get action locations, mean that we are trying to go in that other object. At the moment, action location we did import. I think we don't have under bulk objects, but if I look at the old code under bulk object, there is this one, which is action, no, not action handler. Well, yeah, it's PS action location. This one, PS action location, is a separate object, which is the one that I told you. You know, now there is no description, but it's basically a logical item associated to a 3D model. but it's not an actor that you can move or anything like that. Now we still have to sort out how to do that, if we still want to do that or not, but I think it's pretty interesting, you know, that you can click on geometry on the level and get some description. So for example, you click on the fountain and you get a description of the fountain or things like that. And we use it for guild houses, because the guild houses, when you click on a door, you can open the door and enter the guild house, right? That's an action location. It's not an actor, it's an action location. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to you, but that's how it is. Okay, let's try to launch this and see what happens. I want to remove this and I want to recompile clean. I don't know yet how we will do action location, Maui. I have no idea at the moment, but we have to think about it. But you should imagine it like a puzzle game, you know, like an adventure game, an old adventure game, where you have the ability to inspect. Let me see if I find an example. I don't remember how this game is called, but when you have, you know, okay, let's imagine this one. Okay, right, inspect exactly this. I think I found it. Can I get this one a bit bigger? Let me see if I can get this one a bit bigger. It's not existing anymore. It's an old picture. But anyway, if you see here, I can do a print screen and show you. I think you got the point, right? But it's just to reinforce it. So it's similar to this. Why they are screaming a lot? Is the game finished or what? Is the game finished? 2-1? It seems so. Okay, but it's like this game, you see. In this game, this is your mouse. You see your mouse? And there is a small lens icon, and you can inspect, for example, this card. Okay, and so in game we have something similar. So we associate to some elements of the background of the scene, let's say the 3D scene, we associate a certain item to have certain properties, even if it's not an actor. So we will see. So the World Cup game ended, right? And 2-1 for Croatia. So we will have a final Croatia-France. That's a pity. I think everyone wanted to see England-France, but it's okay. Okay, so you got the point. So they were distracted about looking at the faces of the soccer players. The one that are super happy and the others that are super upset, super sad, you know. Okay, so this was just an example. I don't know how we will do action locations, but I would like to do the same. I would like to have a way to just look around, you know, and see if you find hints in the game. Just do it in 3D and not in 2D, right? Okay, so the server started, so let's try to see if I launch my client. Why we see all these people very happy about the game and now advertise that. Yeah, I think I will stop the stream. I will stop the, because now they are sending advertising only, so it's okay. So 2-1. Okay, 2-1. So the client is starting up, and what we want to test, we want to test if now the spell is broadcasted to us properly, right? I don't know yet, but I think it can be. I don't remember exactly where we ended up yesterday night on the blueprint side, so I don't remember if everything is connected, but I assume it is. So let's go like here, and we are in debug mode. I think we are, but we select the lady and we cast our spell. So I'm expecting 4 seconds of casting. But the spell actually didn't trigger. For some reason it didn't trigger. It did the damage, you see, do damage 6 HP to blah blah blah, new HP. So we did the damage to her with our spell, and we actually succeeded, but unfortunately the actual spell didn't trigger. So let me see why. Okay, so we called broadcast effect message. Now we can try again maybe, and we can just debug it. Yeah, let's do this. Let's put a breakpoint in scripting, because to my understanding, if I understood things right, it should go through this, through FX, right? FX run. So it should arrive here. Let's see if it's the right one or not. I cast it again. After 4 seconds it should go there. Yes, it arrives here, so that's all good. So it's getting the source. The source is the CRAN. It's checking if it's attached or not. Should be attached. It's calling this. So it's calling. Wait a second. It's not attached. I think we failed the spell. Fuck it. We timed out. Yeah, we failed the spell. We have this 60% chance. What about making it 100% so we don't have this variable? Maybe it could be a good idea. Because sometimes we fail the spell, but yeah, but anyway, he went through the right FX. No, but if you went through the FX, means that is because it was the failure FX. Yeah, it was the failure FX. Because also the failure has an FX, so that's why. Okay, so we cast it again. Unfortunately, we crashed. Why we crashed? We crashed on get name. Really? What is going on here? Is allowed to attack. So we're checking if our character is allowed to attack. And something happened here. Seems that our target is not valid. Last attack here. What the hell? We check that we have the right character. So this character, by the way, should not be get name anyway, because get name is the name of the Unreal object. Why went through this? I don't understand. If last attacker, you must be grouped with blah 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 to attack. Why is trying to say this? I don't get it. But anyway, it should never be get name. It should always be like get first name. So we are getting the name of the actual actor. Okay. Something is messed up. I don't know what, but for some reason the code started to execute a piece which we never executed, which is a bit confusing to me. So let me just recompile it and relaunch it, because I think he messed up with something. I think he messed up. And by the way, I don't understand this code too much. If last attacker, you must be grouped with blah 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 to attack. Oh, I think I get it. Okay. Okay, so do you want to know why he was here? He was here because we attacked the lady with one character, then we logged in again, and for some reason he was considering that this was another character, and so he was saying that you couldn't attack that that character because you're already engaged, you know, with another one, and you have to be in a group. So there is an error for sure. There is an error for sure in how do we consider the last attacker. I think the last attacker should not be character. Yeah, I think we should do the comparison by ID, but anyway, I don't want to do it now. There is another thing that we have to fix, because otherwise if you relog, it thinks you are another player. So at the moment that part is not working as expected, but who cares? We don't need to check it now. No, I wanted to see if my effect is correct. First we need to succeed in the spell, so we have 60% chance, and then we need to see if the proper effect is propagated. I think we are probably just missing something on the blueprint side, so another idea, I could just launch the editor and check, but the reason is, I know the reason, boys. I know the reason. Stop everything. I know the reason. We changed the function because we added the optional parameter. We changed the function and we didn't refresh the blueprint. So the blueprint still has the function without the parameter, and I think that without the optional parameter, I think that now it's trying to, when it's trying to compile that piece, it will give an error because the function is old, so we need to refresh it. That's why it's not triggering. Yes, for sure. Sorry, I was not reading the chat. What did you say? You said yes, Crusher 1. I guess doing via code considering more complicated instead of using blueprints. We get the idea. Any traps or selection location that can be randomly spawned in the dungeon. Well, traps depend if you mean player made traps. So player made traps will have to be actors, you know, will have to be something that you can drop. So actually real objects that you can drop, they have a position, they have a state, they have whatever. Now if we make a dungeon and we built it with a trap, let's say always in the same spot, we could also use action locations. to make it kind of invisible, you know, but or we can just make an object which is invisible. But I think traps would be a lot of fun. I think we can do a lot of things now with Unreal. I mean, the basic mechanics that we had, you know, the mechanic of the lever that we had, it took us a lot to create in the old plane shift. Like you click this lever, you pull this lever, and it does something. I mean, now is 10 times easier, so we will really be able to do a lot on that, I think. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I think. Here it is. There is the new parameter, I guess, which is the new optional parameter, which is anchor. Yes. So we should receive this, though. Let me recompile and see if everything is fine. I think he needed the recompile. I have the feeling he needed this recompile. Let me open also PlaneShift player controller, and let me compile it again. Is the name persistent between logins? Yes, the name is persistent. Everything is persistent in the database, but I think in that case we have a bit of a mistake how we consider the player ID. So we will have to just updating because I see there is some changes that probably Cyborg did. Traps are all good and fun unless they are never winter night traps. They give you injuries which require item to heal. Okay. Yeah, I mean the balance between fun and annoying, I think, for traps is not easy to reach, right? So I have to clean up because something happened, and now I will update again. Okay. There are some spells that have been checked in by Cyborg. Okay. So let me just remove my maps again, because I don't like all these maps, because it just takes time when the server is starting up. Okay, maybe we should just remove them, by the way. I don't know why we have them. Yeah, so now the client, now I refresh the blueprints. So let me see if this was the issue, right? Because maybe that was just the issue. I will launch, yeah, let's launch it always in Visual Studio, because for now we still have some pieces which are broken, so we want to test it inside Visual Studio and see if that works well. And meanwhile I can also launch the client. Okay, the server is still starting. Sometimes it takes more to start, I don't know why. Like now it's super slow. I don't know what is going on. If it's a problem with my PC getting seems to be okay. Okay, seems to be up now. I'm a bit scared of not having enough control, you know, on this, but I mean, when Unreal Engine take over, we don't know exactly what it's doing, and maybe the server is stuck, you know. But luckily, I mean, we have the full source code because Unreal is giving us the full source code, so we can debug that as well in case. Okay, let's see if we cast this, if we fail the spell, if we don't fail the spell. Let's just let it go for a second. You failed to cast the spell. Crap. Okay, please cast it again. I don't see the effect. Okay, but I want to see if I got my message, right? I should get my message. Why don't get my message on the client? No, something is not working, guys. So set mod spell casting. I mean, why is not working? Let me check. So let me check. So first I want to be sure we are not failing the spell. It's not executing this. Attached is true. Why is not going through this? I don't understand. So let me put a breakpoint. Sorry, let me put a breakpoint here. I mean, it must go through that. It must go through this. It must. And also it must go through this. I don't understand why it's not going through this. Okay. What is this? He failed because for some reason we were not in attach, so attach was false to this effect. This effect is arrow miss. No, wait a second, we have a not attached effect. I don't care about not attached. Let me change that. We need all our messages to be attached for now, because I don't want to test 10 things. Yes, we still have this typed unattached. So when you fail the spell, it's just, can we just change it to freaking 99? So just a second, so I don't fail my thingy. I don't want to fail my spell, I just want to cast it. Okay, so I just change it to 99% or even 100, who cares? Let's do it 100, so there is no chance of failure, right? It's impossible that we fail, okay? Because otherwise we have too many different routes and we are continuously running in circles around these failures. I just want to see that you execute this broadcast effect message. So I made it 99%, no, 100% now, so there is no chance to fail. Because I'm a wizard. Okay. So it's always attached. It's always 100%. So we should go through that code no matter what. So I click on the lady, click on my spell, click on cast, then the trigger, the breakpoint triggers, okay. Why goes here? Boys, I'm upset. Is this something in the code that, so let me read this again, okay? So our source is not working for some reason. I think is yeah, I think is our source is not working. Our source is null, I think. No, actually our source is a cran character, so what the hell? If I do F10, you see what it does? If I do F10, it jumps down here. Like it cannot cast it to APS character? It's a cran character, it's an APS character already. Why skips this piece? Why skips this? Why doesn't execute this piece? Why? I don't get it. So source is okay, is an A actor, which is our cran character. I cast it to APS character, APS character pointer source char, and then I'm checking if source char is not null, right? And if it's not null, I'm executing source char get controller. I cast it to planeshift player controller base, which must be that, and I call my broadcast message. The problem is that this check always fails for some reason. Like if we cannot, I mean, I don't know, let me print out this. I'm so surprised about that, but let's just print it out. Why my source is not working? I don't understand this. So let's print out source char inside fxop %s, and here we do source char get first name. So it should print out the current character, right, with this line. Then it does, I don't know, I can split it in 2 lines if he prefers, but then if this one is not null, I go here and I call broadcast effect message. Now it's true I'm not passing in the optional I don't know if it's the optional parameter messing it up. It could be. It could be the optional parameter. Because it's basically not calling this function, right? It's not calling this function at all. Is the optional parameter making a mess? Is the optional parameter, because it's the only weird thing that we have in that piece of code, you know. It's the only weird thing that we have here is this optional parameter, which by the way, for some reason, if I put to 0, if I put like this, it says optional parameter ignored, which is very weird. I mean, which is very annoying. I can create 2 functions. I have no problem in creating 2 functions if this makes it work, you know. Okay, let's create 2 functions, and let's say I don't want to, you know, I don't want to waste time on something that is not, I mean, it's not a problem for us. So in this case will be different, will be just vector anchor. We will have no optional parameter. This will become required, and this will probably be here, and it will be like that. Yeah, so we will have two different messages, two different broadcast messages. One is this, I think it's the optional parameter messing it up, and then we will have another one which for now we can even leave empty because we don't, let's say, we don't care. Yeah, because we don't care. So because we are not calling it yet, okay, we will call it when we cast spells that are targeting the ground, but it's not now. So this one for now we leave it empty, okay, and that's it, and we will not call it. So now we need to call this from our scripting, yeah, this piece remains the same, but this piece becomes unattached, and here we will have what? The unattached will have no, we'll have only the anchor and the effect name, nothing else. The anchor and the effect name, that's what it will have. Yes, so here in scripting we call it with pause and name. Okay, so in reality I wanted to do it at the beginning, but then I said why not be smart, you know, and pass in an optional parameter, which seems to be a very good idea, but maybe this is messing up other things, and so for now I will go back to just making two separate functions. And I hope we don't have the same issue inside of this one, because in reality here we are then calling another function which is an optional parameter, which is receive effect message, and this one is the anchor as a parameter. And wait, sorry, this one will never work because here I still have anchor, and anchor here doesn't exist. Okay, but anyway, yes, so but this one has an optional parameter as well, so it may mess up. This is taking quite some time, but okay. I mean, it's a fundamental piece of sending effects between server and client, so if we spend some time here, I think it's okay. If IntelliSense could just wake up, please. Missing. Oh, sorry. I have. Yeah. I have a semicolon. I had a semicolon near at the back, so it would never compile because it sees it as a second declaration, and he has a problem with the check VA. Okay. Ah, yes. He's always right. He's always right. Okay. He's compiling up the DLL now, I think. He will ask me to compile the DLL and then we will test it again. But yeah, my feeling is that the optional parameter for some reason was not working as expected and it was messing up the call. So it was like, you will never call this function because it doesn't exist, and so probably the compiler was optimizing it out and was not even doing the check, you know, I think, because there is some optimization going on behind the scenes, and if it knows that the piece of code is not getting executed, it just doesn't compile it. I mean, it doesn't put it in the final executable, which is smart, but in this case was confusing us. Should we play some music? The same guy that we liked the other day. Just have to check the volume because it may be annoying. Yes, he's annoying. I will lower it. Something like that. So it really stays as a background, you know. Okay, so the server started up. Those misclicks, boys. Those misclicks. Okay, the client is starting. I have too many windows. Okay. Now we're still in debug mode. Casting the spell. Boom. Let's see if this is getting printed out. No, it's not. So our source is not working. Fuck it. Our source is really empty. Our source was really empty. I don't know why I've seen it okay before, but it seems to be fully empty. What is wrong here? But it's something wrong here. Caster and target. Caster and target. Let me see if the database is correct here, because I have the feeling there is something weird. Caster and target. Arrow success. Why Why source is empty now? I'm a bit confused, guys. Our source was okay before and was cran character when I executed the previous time, and it was actually returning here a value. Now is null. Our target though, our target is okay. Our target is the lady, you see, the Morian F character, so our target is okay. So we have the target fine, but the source, which is the caster, which is not fine at all. The source is not. Caster and target. Which, by the way, here is assigning, you know, the target to the source. So if the source is empty, you should use the target as a source. But then probably when it does this one, is not getting the right object. I don't know why. Why is doing this? Don't get it. We are stuck on a pretty bad problem. We are stuck on a pretty bad issue here. I don't know why, you know, in two different runs, we didn't do anything different, but in two different runs, it just decided that our source was empty. Seems very weird to me. So target is valid, source is equal to the target now, after this line, and now is okay. Come on! Now is okay. Why now is okay? I know, now is not okay anymore. Okay, something happens between here and here. Something happens between here and here. It makes that empty. Because here is okay, up to here is okay. Then he execute this thing, which I don't know exactly what is it. Is effect scale. Get attribute scale. I don't think we have scale defined in our it is the mistake, I see it. No, we need to know if he's executing this, because effect scale, it seems that after this the memory goes crazy, you know, so it's like if he's extracting the wrong value. So effect scale or is not set properly, or is not the right value. I don't know, there is something happening between here and here. That's why I was seeing the value proper before. Yes, it's a different function. No, the source is fine. The source is fine. It's just that there is something happening here, and our effect scale. Can I put a breakpoint here as well? I think it loaded it already. Oh, no, there it is. So he's trying to load our effect, and he's checking if there is an attribute called scale. Right? Obviously there is not, so we don't have a scale in our thing here, right? So this should not be executed. Okay, in fact it's skipping it. So effect scale stays as null. Okay, I'm fine with that. Now I don't know if it happens in all the nodes, but it should be empty. Maybe we can do this. We can put a breakpoint here and see if he ever. No, FS scale is always empty. Is always empty. So it should never execute this line. Never execute this line. So what the hell is going on? Is it really the cast? I mean, is it really the cast that is messing it up? I'm so surprised if it's the cast. I'm so surprised if it's the cast. I don't... There is something we are not understanding at the moment. We are missing some piece. It's something we are not understanding. So source is correct here, okay? Now why says the target is the cran? Oh my god, this thing is so weird. Now he's saying that the target is me. Is this completely crazy? Yeah, after the cast, the source becomes empty. I don't know what's going on, guys. Should I recompile clean? I don't know. There is something going wrong with the memory here. I mean, there is some weird things going on. I don't understand what is it, but definitely there is something going nuts. I mean, the code is super simple. The code is super simple. Like super simple. So I don't understand what's the problem here. After this cast, our source gets completely destroyed. The problem is that I have to cast it because it is an A actor and I need to cast it to an APS character. I have no other way. Do I need a pointer in cast? No. Because it's casting the type and then the result is a pointer. So no, you don't need the... Hello, Amy. It is so confusing. It is so confusing. These are the cases in which you probably have some bad initialization of some of the variables in your code, and due to that the compiler is going crazy and is just executing stuff that doesn't make any sense anymore. It just doesn't make sense anymore. I can try to execute it again just for fun, but we have some problem in the initialization of the variable. So there is something pointing to null, or there is some memory corruption going on, or there is something weird going on, because it's not possible. It's not possible. I mean, I click on her, you see, she's the target, so there is no possibility it's me. I click here on cast. Okay, so the target, now the target is the lady. Okay, don't ask me why, but now the target is the lady. The source is equal to the lady. We try to get the source out of this. And now we find ourselves. Okay, so now it's correct. The target is the lady, the source is ourselves. Now FX case should not happen. Now I do this cast that I have to do, and you see source is cran. I execute it, and now source is null. So this cast is fucking up everything. But why? And then obviously it crashes here because source char is empty. Why? Why I cannot cast it properly? Why? Why I cannot cast it source to my freaking source char? What is the problem? What is the problem? I need to convert it to an APS character, because I need then to get the controller and do all this other work, you know. So I cannot avoid doing this. What the hell? Why this line is messing up? When sometimes he's taking me as the target, I have no idea. Sometimes he's taking me as a target, sometimes is. But this line fails all the time anyway. What is the problem of this piece of code? Are we in a special place, or we're just doing a load of this thing, get the attribute type, attached equal to this. We are just setting f strings. We are setting f strings. We are not doing this piece of code. We are just returning this result, and then when we run the script, we get the object, we do this. I mean, is this assignment making him mad? You know, that I have two objects assigned to the same, I mean, two variables assigned to the same thing, and then the cast is messing up with this. Is the cast messing up with the fact they associate the source to the target? I don't know. I mean, I can set it to null and assume. I mean, I can do this. It's no problem. And so it will work for now. In this way, it will work only if I have both target and source selected, but it's okay. I think that assignment is messing him up. I don't know if it's this one, but it's like if you consider the same variable, you know. I don't get it though. Yeah, exactly. Why is resetting source? Probably because that assignment of source to target is fucking something up. So let's see. Let's see if without that assignment when the spell is cast, no, everything is read in memory, so it's not reading in database. When the spell is cast, we are executing a script, and the script is preloaded in memory as well. And what we are looking, that piece of code that we are looking is only the FX line, so is this line of the script, which is pre-parsed in memory, and so is calling this FX operation class, which is executing this line. So it's a bit complex, but anyway. So I click on the lady, summon missile, cast, 4 seconds. Then okay, this assignment to null. So source is fine. Let me see after this. No, it's null anyway. As soon as I do this cast, my source is going to shit. I don't know why. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea. Is resetting source and target when you finish the spell? No, I mean it's between this line and this line. I mean, so it's not going anywhere else, you know. It's not going in another part of the code. It's just executing this piece, as simple as that. And it's executing this cast, and it's not able to do it. Source is assigned here. Source is assigned here. Then this piece of code we skip because FX scale is null. Then attach this through. So we enter here and then we do our freaking cast. So is one line is effectively one line after this, and this cast is failing. What is the freaking point, really? I don't know what is the freaking point, really. I mean, I can do the other cast, but the point is that in general we should not use this cast with unreal objects. So it usually doesn't like it. It usually doesn't like it. Source is not empty. We just tested it. It's not empty. It's not empty here. Here is properly assigned. Then when we come here during the cast is empty. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like the compiler is fucking up with us. It's like there is something that there is something else which is affecting our code at the moment. I mean, the only thing could be that we already have source char defined anywhere else as a global variable, and they are kind of messing up with each other, but I mean, it's not the case. I mean, we can try to make another variable and see if we set it to something else, but now I try to use the other casting, you know, the standard, let's say C++ cast. Now source is null. Come on! And target is me. Now target is me and source is null. No, there's definitely something not working in this code. I mean, or is this get object which is fucked up, or there is something not working here, boys. There is something not working in the scripting. I think it's something related to the scripting. Oh, by the way, the spell failed. The spell failed? It's 100%. How can it fail? Because here we went through the failure script. So I think that when we see ourselves as the only target, it's probably because the spell failed. That could be. I mean, I don't care about the spell fail. I can just comment it out completely. I mean, I don't care about spell failing now. Fuck spell failing, okay? So we just remove it. So the spell, we don't even do the check. We do not even do the check. I think there is something else. There is something else that is done before our piece of code, which is messing up the memory in such a way that then the next lines executed are just completely broken. No, it's not 99%. I changed it to 100, so. It's not 99%, it's 100. If roll less than 100. I mean, unless this one is generating from 0 to 101, but it's not. This random is generating to 100, so. And we say if it's less than 100. No, I changed it to 100. I changed it because I didn't want to have any chance of failure. Now I remove the failure code, so it cannot fail anyway. You know. It cannot fail anyway, but. This is a problem because it seems that there is something in our code which is really unclean or not working as expected, and is messing up the rest of the execution. Because that's a typical, you know, typical case when you have messed up the memory. When you start to do like this, that you have inconsistent results. It's because you messed up something badly. Really, really badly. So target now is the lady again, and source is me, so now seems to be okay. Then we go in attached, we do this cast to source. Now with the standard cast seems to be working okay, but then it crashes after that. But at least he entered here. Now he crashed here. So he went past that because actually he went past the. Did he print out the source on the? Let me see if he printed out something. Because we asked him to print out the name of the character. Server side. Source char inside FXOP. Doesn't have the name, doesn't have anything. So he printed out this, but he didn't print out the name. So like again, if source char is actually not properly initialized or not properly working or not properly something. You know what I think? I think the problem is this line when we are trying to extract the object. Okay, so I think I have an idea. I think I have an idea of what it can be. I think I have an idea. The problem is when we are trying to extract the object, the point is, how do we do this? My scriptable var. How do we do this? How do we extract? So the problem I think is the get object. stop everything. I have to learn that code because this. I think the problem is this. I think the problem is this, and is corrupting the memory or doing some shit, because actually I don't even know how it made work with Unreal, because this function was conceived to work with the old plan shift code, and for some magic now Sims is working, but I think I never changed it. You know, I mean I never tested it. Now that I think about it, I think I never tested. So you see, there is a lot of shit like that. Just to convert between the f string and the char, but okay, that could be fine. Then there is a lot of cast again that we did, which we shouldn't do probably this way. I think I never tested this part. I think it's the first time that we extract an object from a script which is actually an actor. No, we don't have melee attacks. I mean, we don't have them yet. This is the first time we do damage to an NPC. In Unreal, obviously. The first time we do it in our life. You see, we do a bunch of stuff that was based on the old code. So like here we are trying to get the pointer to the object going by ID, but I don't even know what ID it is. I don't know which kind of ID is trying to freaking get. Check whether the ID mask matches to one of the objects. I have no idea. I didn't do this piece of code myself, so someone else did it, and so I have no idea what it's trying to do here. So this is a T-map of uint32. So first of all, why uint32? I mean, we have this maniac of specific integer values. Just use int, please. Just use freaking int. I don't want to see any weird types, okay? Because weird types tend to create mess. So let's just remove all the uint32 that we have in this file. In the wall file. I want to remove uint32 from the wall math script file. uint32. In the current document. Yeah, because we also have, you see, we also have uint16, uint. Maybe there is a reason. I don't know if you are comparing masks. Maybe there is a reason why we are doing this. But I have the feeling that this is not helping me. But I think is where we have this is where we have the mess. So for some reason our table of scriptable objects first of all, I don't really know what happens if I cast an unreal object with a normal cast. I don't know. I don't know if using the normal cast is really messing up things or not. Because if it's really messing up things, then that is why we have the problem. My only question is why we should use the cast of Unreal and not the C++ cast. That's the question, you know, that I have. Or if the cast of standard C++ is making a mess with Unreal objects for some reason. That's the question I have. Perfect. This is exactly the question I have. This guy says you don't have to use the template class function, but it's much safer. Okay, but it is fine. I mean, it's saying that I can use it, okay? So it's just a matter that cast does the additional checks for ensuring that the object is what you want. Okay, that's fine with me. That's fine with me. I have no problem with that. So I know that the object is that particular type. Now, I think that what we should do, we should understand how this lookup table works, and how the comparison between lookup table and IDs works, because I think when we are doing the get, we are not getting what we want. We are getting something else. And sometimes it's me, sometimes it's the target, sometimes it's null, you know, and it is exactly where we are having the problem. Because that pointer that we get back is not valid. Is not valid. So we have to debug, we have to check what happens. I mean, who is populating scriptable variables? When is this populated, right? So that's the trick to, I mean, we have to understand this. If we don't understand this, we will never be able to find our problem. Never. So let me check in this document where when I want to know when this array of IDs and object is populated. That is what I want to know. And is added exactly here. Get value, but why in get value? In get value, okay, anyway, it's done here once. Okay, it's done here once. done only here. Okay, so this is the only place where I set in my scriptable variables the pointer to the characters. Okay. 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 Let me launch the server in debug and see when this happens, because I want to understand when this happens. I want to understand if this happens when we load the script or when we execute the script. Actually, it should be when we execute the script, obviously. Why inside get value? So weird, but okay. It's just because I don't know this part of the code that it seems weird to me, but I think all of this makes a lot of sense. It's just that I don't know it enough to understand why is this way, because I never looked at this part of the code, never ever. Okay, the server is starting, so it's loading all the math script and is loading also our spell script. Okay, trigger now. So what is trying to do? He's actually loading a character. Okay, that's nice. He's actually loading a character, and he's loading the NPC. He's loading the lady, I would say. He's loading the lady. And yes, because I see ID number 4. So ID number 4 is the lady. So he's trying to load the lady. He goes into this set base buffable. So he's inside buffable. And I have no idea why it's getting into this. Load set racing. If he's trying to set the race, yeah, he's trying to set the race, and is a new value. So for some reason it goes inside of this thing. He's trying to launch a math script. Okay, he's trying. So he's launching. He's defining this new math script. Okay, he's defining this script, and in here we have our character, which by the way is the lady. You see, the Morian female character is the lady. He's setting it as the main actor, and here is trying to define this value. So scriptable variables at the moment is empty. He's trying to add a new UID, which by the way the value to me seems absolutely crap, because the value is just a completely random number. Maybe it is our problem. This UID So UID is 0, right? UID is 0. And when I do plus plus this, it becomes just a completely random value. Why we do plus plus pointer UID? The point is that this piece of code, it works perfectly in the old plan shift. So I'm very reluctant to change it. You know, I'm very reluctant to change this code because in theory it should work like a charm because it's been, say, more than tested. You know, it's generating hundreds of these codes. I mean, it generated millions of these lines of code since years, so it should work okay. But the problem that I see here is that this UID, which is 0, after it gets incremented here, it gets completely random value. A completely random value. Which I don't know if is done by purpose, you know. So it's basically taking as a number the memory address. It's taking the memory address of this, is adding 1, and is putting it into this value. Which, I mean, as a random value, I think it's okay, but as a random value, I think it's okay. And is putting inside of it our PS character, right? And is doing this twice. So now our scriptable variable, I think it should have at least one value. No! What did I press? No! So, but you see it's saying return the masked value, and this masked value ID, it returns null. I don't know, I'm very surprised, boys. I have no idea why this is happening. And by the way, after all of this, my scriptable value is still empty. Yeah, registry and variable, I think, are just specular T-maps to just be, so hash tables, let's say, just to be able to search quickly, or by object or by ID. You know, so it's a kind of a standard pattern where you create one is the opposite of the other, like this. Where are those defined? So yes, they are one the complementary of the other, you know. This, you see. So one has a uint32 as a key, and then this is a variable, and this one as the opposite. So if you search by object, you use this table, which is quick. If you search by ID, you use this table, which is quick, because the T-map is indexing only the first parameter, if that makes sense to you. So it's a lookup table and reverse lookup table, right? So we are also always populating both, so that when we search, we can search by one and by other. But what I say, oh, that's weird. No, that's standard. This is a standard pattern. It's a standard programming pattern. Okay, now for some reason we are back into this function and the value is actually 1. And the ID value is again none. Variable is optimized the way. Why has to optimize things? I don't understand. Variable is optimized the way. I never understood this. Variable is optimized the way not available. Why I should freaking no a release build? I'm in a development build. Guy is saying that it's not initialized, and it's why. I mean, it was empty before. Why I cannot see it now? I don't understand. But let me run it again. I mean, scriptable variables is always empty. Why is always empty? I don't get it. Is it per math script? It may be that this thing is assigned by each math script. So whenever I execute a script, I create this hash table with the values, and then so it's not global. It's not something that we do once and for all, but it's something that we do per each script. Yeah, that's probably the reason. Yeah, that's the reason. So yeah, it looks empty because it just did another cycle. Okay, so so like here we are executing another one, and we are setting again another value pointing to always the Dermorian character. So we are loading all these math scripts. And we are putting in the pointer to our character, right? We are putting in the pointer to our character. Now that I understand. So we are creating a number of math scripts that we can execute on the lady, which has in the scriptable var, which has in the scriptable variables the pointer to the NPC and a kind of an ID. Now this ID is value 1, but I don't. Okay, this I understand. Okay, so there will be a million scripts, so I can debug it forever, because it's like for the stats, for the rank, for the whatever, for the max stamina, for the let's say there are like a million that are getting executed. Every item I create, there will be a max script managing that. Now, why we are executing it so much will be interesting to know. Which kind of math script we are evaluating now, because it seems he's doing it a bit too much. Evaluate. It's probably for each stats. Could be for each stats. I don't know. It seems he's doing it 1 million times now. I'm fine, but he's doing it like 1 million times. Like million times. Always the same. He's loading the skills and he's calculating the cost, so he's generating scripts I think it's generating one script for each of the skills for this NPC. Is this a good idea? Anyway, I don't think we can change it now, but it seems that it's generating one script in memory for each of the skills, which are like 60 or so. So every skill will have this. I mean, it's going on forever. Why is doing it so much? I think he executed it already like 300 times because I'm pressing F5 continuously. Okay, now we finished, but I think he executed it so many times. I think that is something that we should check later on, not now, but because it seems that it can be a performance bottleneck here in this thing, because we are I mean, for the lady, just for one NPC we executed it like 300 times. Now is it okay or not? I have no idea, but I think, you know, just to simplify our test case, I think we could, as soon as the server starts, try to launch a mat script on the lady, so we don't have to launch the client to do the test. You know, that could be an idea, because now we have every time we do the test we have to launch the client, wait that it loads, load the map, load whatever, while on the server side we already have the thing. So we could just create a simple mat script and just execute it, but okay. Yeah, you see, now I enter with my character and he's executing that again, right? It would be 1 million times as well, I guess, but yeah, he's executing it again for each of his skills. Now I select her, I click on the spell. Now what I want to know if that get object is fucked up, which I think it is. At least this is my only reasoning at the moment, that the get object is somehow broken. This get object, what is it here? This get object, I think is somehow broken. So let's cast the spell and see when we got inside of this what happens. Actually, we're getting past an environment, so the environment would be nice to see where we are coming from, but okay, let's just cast the spell and let's see. By the way, is recreating the script. Let me see which kind of script is doing. Okay, it's doing it here. Okay, good. So we are casting the spell, and so it is constructing the script for us, right? Get mana cost. Yeah, because there is another script into this. Okay, because it's all made of scripts, but it's evaluating another script. And yeah, it's evaluating the mana cost for my crank character. You see, the crank character is correct, and he's trying to evaluate the mana cost. Now, can he do it? I think he can, but mana cost is 4.0. Yeah, the calculation is done correct. So, and this has used heavily the get object. So is used that function have well, not the get object. Yeah, use the get object heavily. So in reality here what we are demonstrating is that, for example, for mana calculation the get object is working perfectly because we get the right value, okay, with some rounding because it's 4 dot blah 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 blah, but it's actually working properly, which is very weird. So, and the same will be, I guess, for everything else, for get stamina. Now the problem is that, okay, we're waiting 4 seconds now, and then we trigger again this. Where are we coming from? We are coming from cast, adjust mana cost. Yeah, because now is running other scripts. Is running other script to adjust the mana. So yeah, it's not very easy to debug this because we are going through the same piece of code so many times. But let's just go. Okay, here we are now running our FX. So everything else worked okay, right? Like the calculation of the mana, the calculation of the damage, because we do 6 points of damage, which to me makes a lot of sense. So all of that works. But now we arrive here, and this get object, sometimes it get, you know, the wrong value. It seems to me that it gets the wrong value. So what we have? We have an environment, which is the mod script environment, which has actually 3 variables set on it, which has a role, an exit, and the actual environment. Okay, let's try to go inside of this get object. This get object is searching for a target variable name, right? And target is actually the lady for us. So the first thing it does a lookup on the environment. I don't see a target here though, but anyway. And he actually finds the variable. I don't know how, but he finds it anyway. UID2. Yes, 2 scriptable variable, but it seems to be okay. You see, like here he has 2 scriptable variables. One is our Kren character, the other is our Dermorian character. So it actually seems to be okay, but okay. So the variable is not null. So now we go inside a variable, and we try to get the right object. Okay, we try to get the object of this variable. Okay, so let's go inside of this if I can. Hello, can I go inside? It goes here, so our value is empty. Why our value is none at the moment? You see, we have a value which is not valid. We have a value in our variable which is none, which is empty. We have a variable which is empty. Value is empty. So I don't know how he's gonna use it, but anyway, value is empty. So he's trying to assign this value to this, and he's trying to mask it. I mean, and this will never work, I think, because but now actually, kind of magically, our value became 2. Our value became 2. How did it became 2 if it was none here? So the value that we get is none. Maybe, I don't know if Visual Studio cannot represent it, because maybe is But no, it's just a double, so being a double, it should be fine. Boys, there is something very weird going on here. Can I see the hexadecimal display of this? Hexadecimal display still says none. But maybe in this case, you know, it has to be none. Maybe because the variable is pointing only to one object, so maybe this is a kind of an index, you know, on the object. It could be. I don't know exactly how this value is, but let's say that this is none, and then is taking, what is this ID object? The ID object is having having value 2 set, and is having mask 32752. So he has a kind of an ID2 set of this variable. Obtain the object associated with the ID and return it. This is where I'm completely amazed by this code, but anyway, is finding the key number 2, which actually exists. Okay, it's finding the key number 2, which actually exists, and is returning properly the Dermorian lady, which is the target. So actually, this piece of code, even if the value is none, it actually worked. It actually worked. And then what it's doing is checking if the parent exists and the object doesn't, then it's trying to get the parent pointer. But in this case we are not, and so it's skipping this and is returning the object. And actually the object is properly our Dermorian lady. So I mean, it seems that this piece of code in this case kind of worked, right? Kind of worked. And so we are returning here in our target the Dermorian lady. This seems to be a valid object. I don't know how can I see if the memory is corrupted or if it is any issue, but it seems to me that this is a valid APS character with its pawn, with his value set. I mean, seems to be okay. I don't see any memory fucked up here. I mean, it seems to be okay to me. Okay, so let's say it's okay. Now we want to extract the source. And the source is the cran, right? Is the cran guy. So, which is the caster. So we go inside of this thing again. We do a lookup for caster, right? We check if the variable exists. Yes, it exists. This variable has a UID which is 2 again, which is a bit weird, but anyway. So we are getting into this again. The value is none as again. We do the mask, but now the value is 1. Yeah, value 1 is the cran character. So because before we had a value 2, so it seems to be working. I don't know why then it fucks up. So it seems to be working. So now we are returning as a source the cran character. Exactly. We are returning the cran character. So we have in our target the Dermorian lady, and in our source we have the cran character. So these two variables seems to be fine. Now, as soon as I do this, something very bad happens. So this one gets skipped, is attached, is true, so I go inside of this. I do source char get first name. So now I want to see if this is executed, because man, before it returned an empty value. Yeah, get char name, yes, return name, right? So this one should, I mean, I can just execute it. Any breaks? Any breaks? I mean, it works okay. It seems to work okay, but then as soon as he's trying to execute some function on the 2 pointers that we returned, everything fucks up. Like, you know, here we are returning actually already an APS character and it seems to be valid, but as soon as I do something like this, which is just a printout, and I'm trying to get the first name of this source char, everything goes to shit. I don't know why, I don't know what is the reason. I don't know if we are hitting a problem of oh my god, I just saw something. There is a variable named source, which is actually, yeah, but it's not in the FX that we are executing now. I mean, it's not in the FX we are executing now. We are executing FX and not FX AOP or whatever. FXA. So I mean, I'm getting paranoid now about the fact that we have some clash of names. You know, we have some clash on names between this and a global variable. I'm getting freaking paranoid. So let me change all of this. Okay, so I don't want to see anything in this thing that is possibly being a variable, you know, anywhere else. Like, is this source existing anywhere? What? Ah, okay. Yes, correct, because I changed the thingy. Now source doesn't exist, so... But I'm really getting super paranoid that there is something, you know, which is... What is name defined, by the way? Well, name is actually, yeah, name is actually here. Okay, name is actually here. Yeah, the only two that I cannot change are source var and target var, because those two are actually in the class declaration. But target char, I mean, where is target char coming from? I mean, I'm getting paranoid now that we have some of these variables which is also declared globally or in another or in a further class, and so we are kind of overriding the value, and the compiler is getting super confused of which one is what, you know, because I don't see what else it could be. I don't see what else it could be. I think I will be super excited when I find out what is it, because this thing is making me crazy. I will be super happy when I find out what the hell is this. I think will be a very good finding whenever we will do, tomorrow or in 1 year from now. I hope not in 1 year from now, but... And for example, this is something that if you want to help me debug, you can, you know. I mean, this is a simple use case. Well, it's not a simple use case, but anyway, it's one case that is always reproducible, that fucks up, and I don't know why, and it's costing me a lot of time while I could work on something else. And so if any of you wants to help on debugging this and understanding why, I would be very grateful. I understand it's not simple because it's connected to the world scripting system. I mean, but these 5 lines of code are simple, you know. So the fact that is, I mean, a certain variable is valid here, but for some reason it's not valid anymore here. I mean, it's just completely crazy. And definitely, I think we have some memory corruption going on. I think we have some memory corruption going on. I don't know where, but I'm nearly 100% convinced we have. Like, for example, we are still having, you know, we are still having in that scripting class, like I'm looking now, there are still some effects, like effects cancel, or which are still using gem objects, and gem object is the dummy one. This one will all be null, always be null, all of those, because we have it in our dummy classes, and these are returning null. So maybe there is something somewhere, but it seems to be only here, only in this. So it cannot be, but maybe there is another place where there is some leftovers, you know, some leftover of code, and which is trashing memory, because I think what we are doing now, we are trashing memory. I don't see any other explanation. That is the beauty of C++, you know. This will never happen in Java. Everyone go play Java. Okay. So target is the lady, source is me, this is not executed. When I do this, it crashes. When I do a simple get name from my freaking character, which is actually a valid pointer, and I try to do get first name and get char name, which is a valid pointer, I get an error. I get a freaking error. Why I get an error on f string, so this f string is not valid. You see that I cannot see in the watch window my character. If I go on this, which is my character, it says is invalid. So it's like this source 1 2 3 is kind of valid, but then when I cast it to APS character again, which by the way is an APS character, when I cast it to this, it becomes invalid. So it's like this source cannot be casted. Cannot be casted. Why cannot be casted to the type that it belongs to? You see, even the editor sees it as an APS character. You see, APS character here. So it sees it as that type. And when I execute this line with this cast or with the other cast, the real one is the same, I get an invalid object as a result. So like there is something on this object which is not okay, and I don't know why we generated an invalid object. I have no idea. And this object should just be by the way, this object should just be a pointer to my character, right? To my cran character. I mean, it should be. Boys, I have no idea. I have to sleep on it and think about it and see if I come up with something, because at this point I'm stuck on this one. I'm completely stuck on this one. Okay, if you're not even understanding the line, it's fine. It's pretty simple. You have an object and you are trying to say the type of that object. You are trying to say this object can be a cat, a dog, or a monkey, and you are saying please cast it to a monkey and see if he's a monkey, you know, and put it in this variable as a result. So this thing is saying check if this variable is a character, and if it's a character, put it in this other variable. Usually the cast fails if this is not the right type, no? So if it's not a monkey and it's a dog or a cat or something else. But in this case, we know it's an APS character because we are getting it even from the compiler here. So there is something very, very weird going on here. Very weird between these two variables. I mean, completely crazy. And usually that happens when you have a memory corruption somewhere. Okay. Now, it's true it's the first time, I think. Is it really the first time that we use? Is it really the first time? Because, you know, we are executing 1 million scripts. Like, for example, we're executing a script for all our variables and for all our mana cost. So, for example, mana cost. Let me check mana cost. Mana cost. We should have a script for mana cost, right? Calculate mana cost. So, what is mana cost doing? It's taking the realm of the spell and is multiplying by, yeah, it's not acting on the player. Yeah, that's true. It's not acting on the player. Well, we could change it so that somehow we calculate max HP. For example, this one we use actor, which is our player, and we call a function on it, right? Which is not exactly the same as doing it from the spells, because the spells are a bit special. So it's another kind of script. You know, another way we can do it, we can, I mean, just to break completely the pattern, is to say that we don't use anymore the FX. We don't use anymore the FX, but you know, it's a bit annoying. Because, for example, okay, there is another one here. There is another one here. Look at this one. This one, which is the one before, is telling us if we hit the target or not with our spell. Right? This one is exactly the same. Maybe it's a bit simpler. Maybe we could try to check if this one, which is a message OP, which is here, right, it works properly or not, because it's very, very similar. It's not identical, but it's very, very similar. Very. With the difference that is returning yeah, but it's getting the caster variable in the same way. It's not doing get object, but it's doing get actor. Okay, it's using another function, but it's doing the same thing. It's trying to get ourselves, and then it's trying to send us some messages. Okay, so let's try to see if this one works, because I think this one is a good example. It's a very good example. Okay, I just have to convert one piece of code because it is still old and we want it to be new. But this one is a very good example, and is executed basically at the same time, just one line before. So yeah, send system result. Let me just take this. Send system result is this, which, by the way, this one is needed because it's the one that is telling in the chat. It's telling us in the chat if our spell actually failed or not, right? So let me do this. It's always final text, okay. So now we debug this, okay, which is a simpler version of that message. And then I need to go to bed though, because it's too late. but this will be the last test of the day, okay? Because this one we need in the same way. It's just sending a message to the player, and it's just trying to get from the script who we are, you know, our character, and it's sending us a message. So it's exactly the same. The other one is more complex because he has a target and caster, and then it does some additional stuff, but is the basics are the same. Okay, the server is up. So I would like to see my client a message saying that we did X amount of damage with this, with the spell, right? And if that works, maybe I will take the crazy route of removing the effects completely. What is happening? Client is not responding anymore. Come on! Why now? Okay. The client, I don't know, the client messed up a bit. But we need to solve this because there is so much depending on it. You know, there is so much of our scripting mechanism for spells, for whatever, for a lot of stuff that requires this to work. So let me cast, and then I want to see start to be tired, that's why. I didn't recompile the DLL, so it was having a different piece of code. We have to recompile the DLL, otherwise it's not executing the right code. That's why it probably crashed as well, because you had an inconsistency between code and DLL. But okay, now recompiling it now. Okay, client, client. I've seen, I don't know if you have seen it, but on the client side we got a very bad message about heap memory something. I don't know if, I think it was caused by the crash, right? I don't know if it was just before the crash. Okay. So we cast. We are in the message OP. Let's see if this crashes or not. The actor seems to be okay. This one didn't crash. this one didn't crash. So the get act, actually I didn't get my message though. Didn't get my message. Why didn't get my message? Why my message OP? Can we do something? No, it's too late. I will do it tomorrow. Okay, I cannot do it anymore. It's too late. I really have to go. But the point is that this one didn't crash. This final text. For some reason was empty or something, because it didn't, I didn't see a message. Maybe it popped up on screen and it was not printed out in the UI. Maybe. Okay, let me do something. Let me just comment out these lines, which are the ones that are crashing. And let me just comment out these lines that are the ones that are crashing, okay? And let's do this. Let's do this. Let's see if we properly get, without any breakpoints or anything, if we properly get, because now we should not be crashing anymore, right? Just because we commented out, but we should get the message, which is the previous, the simpler function that I was speaking before, right? So here in the message, we should get our message, which is actually executed on the actor object. So if by any chance this works, maybe we have a problem with the get object function and not with the get actor, and if that is true, then we may have a hint of why is not working, you know? Because if this one is working, which is doing pretty much the same job just in a simplified way, then maybe we can modify the other and try to see where is the problem, you know? Where is the issue? Let me disable all the breakpoints because I just want to run disable all breakpoints. I just want to run clean. And I just want to see my message on the client. So no effect, no spell effect, just the message. Okay, I just want to see my message here. Waiting 4 seconds. You hit mail Anki. Yeah, we have it. Okay. So this one works, you know. So this message, which is very similar to the other, maybe you didn't see it because it's too small, but this one, you see in the chat, you hit mail Anki with your magic arrow. So, and I can do it again, I think would be no problem. Right? You hit mail Anki with your magic arrow. So, I don't know why it's an error, by the way, and it's not. Let me check why is an error though. Shouldn't it be maybe because just in our script we decided that it was an error message, just because in our scripting no message aimcaster text, we didn't say anything in terms of the type of message. I don't know why by default it becomes an error message, but I think at the moment this is not too much of a trouble for us. Message OP okay, or result or error, I don't know, it should be result I think, but it's fine. I mean, get actor worked, it returned a valid pointer. Yeah, we didn't cast it to anything though, huh? We didn't cast it to, well, we cast it here though, because get actor is the same function that we were using before, exactly the same one, right? Exactly the same. So, and this one works okay. So so tomorrow, I mean, for now I cannot continue, but tomorrow I will start to do a comparison between this operation, which works okay and is very important that it works, and the fx operation, which for some reason doesn't work while it should be nearly identical. So this piece of code doesn't work, but is very, very similar to this one. The only difference is that here we do get object and there we do get actor, so that's probably the difference, right? Yeah, we should check this, because get actor is just down here. It says this one. This seems nearly identical to me. One is casting, get object is casting to a actor, and this one is casting to PS character. Okay. Maybe something happens here. Maybe because I'm changing the type. I don't know. We will see tomorrow, boys, but it's been a good session. I would say a bit tough as a session, not really, a bit rough session, but we did some good changes. Then we got this big problem, we got stuck into the problem, we tried to fix it in multiple ways. Then there was a bit of the workup distracting us, so that's why we were not fully productive, but it's okay. I will check in what I have anyway, because it's not breaking anything, so I will check in what we have. So if any of you wants to help or check it, I can give you access to the SVN and you can check it. Let me just see what I have to check in. Yes, everything except this. So add or fix it, let's say fixed message msgop to send message to the client when with the result of the spell, and that's it, because fx op is not working at the moment. Commented out. Yeah, yeah, fx op is not working at the moment, so we commented out, and that's okay. So I'm checking in this, and we will see tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow I hope I can stream, but I have to prepare something in the evening, so I may not be streaming, so I don't know. We will see each other tomorrow evening or Saturday afternoon. And with that, we'll see you the next time. Have fun, thanks for watching, and yeah, see you soon.